Namaste and welcome everyone to this special broadcast. I'm Ashish Pareek. A quarter of a century. That's enough time for fads to fade, for brands to peak and collapse, and also for cultural shifts to completely happen. But during this time, there are certain emotions, certain brands that endure and stand the test of time. Usually, the brands that stay close to our heart and endure this duration are the brands that stand by us when it matters the most. On the show today, we'll be speaking to a trailblazer who for the past 25 years has redefined what life insurance means for a common Indian. They've made life insurance into a powerful, a personal, and also a purposeful tool for millions of Indians who had no idea about life insurance before they joined or they associated with this brand. I'm talking about Axis Max Life Insurance, and welcome to our special show, anchoring Bharosa in every era, Axis Max Life at 25. And it's my absolute pleasure to welcome on the show two remarkable gentlemen, Sumit Madan, who's the MD and CEO, and also Rahul Talwar, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at Axis Max Life. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashish.
Pleasure
to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure to be speaking to you, Sumit. Let me start with a very basic question. We're talking about 25 years of a brand that's become a household name almost in India. Over the past 25 years, a lot has changed. The way people consume information, the way people interact with each other, the way information is disseminated, the devices that we use as well. During this time, what's remained constant is your brand legacy, Axis Max Life Insurance. What does the word relevance mean to you, and how do you stay relevant, across generations?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to start the entire discussion, Ashish, and thank you for bringing it up. I think in your introduction, you use the right terms, which is brands who stand by the customer at large. I think that's something that we take great pride in. If you look at the last 25 years, Ashish, and you can take any window of 25-year period, but to my mind, the last 25 years, the story of Axis Max Life Insurance is also the story of India at large. Because I think post-liberalization, when we got into the early 2000s or so, the aspirations of this young, aspiring middle class was completely changing. Technology was coming in, there were foreign players who were coming in, given the customer more options, more choices really to choose from. In that kind of an era, to one, build a brand, and then, like you rightfully said, to stay relevant for the last 25 years, I think it's been a great journey. What's happened at large is it's all about promise. Brand largely, when you look at brands across the globe, are nothing else but a promise you make to the customer. And promise is all about Bharosa. In our case, all the more reason, Ashish, because when you are selling a product, at least in the case of a life insurance, this is more of a human event. More than when you're selling the product, the true test is when the customer really needs it, as and when the unfortunate incident happens in the family, in the life insurance case. I think for us, that's really the relevance of the brand where the product is really tested. The last 25 years, the way India has changed, in the case of Axis Max Life Insurance, the Bharosa has only gone up.
Absolutely. And Rahul, as the Chief Marketing Officer, of course, your job is not just to make sure that the products and offerings reach the conscience of every single person, but also it happens in a way that feels organic, which develops that Bharosa very organically.
Yeah, so if I will just, Ashish, build off what Sumit said, I think the two interesting marketing pillars that we've used to build out the entire enterprise narrative, I would say first, because end of the day, brand is an asset for the enterprise. So I think it's authenticity, because 25 years is a long runway for a brand to be not authentic. Absolutely. And you need to be just anchoring yourself on authenticity, that's one. And second, I think what Sumit spoke about, the transition that India as a country, India as a culture is undergoing, I think it's more about conversations. Correct. But again, from a marketing standpoint, if I have to go back and give you maybe three pivots that we've used in this last 25 years, I think those three pivots are hidden in the name of the brand. You say Axis Max Life Insurance. Axis is the first pivot. Second, the word max. If you look at what is the ethos of max, it's about maximizing life. And the third one being about life, Sumit spoke about this entire life journey of, say, a protagonist or a breadwinner, and the fact that life insurance is relevant for every part of life.
Well, on that note, let me touch base with Rajesh on this. Rajesh, of course, was the CEO of Axis Max Life, which was then, of course, Max New York Life, and then eventually it became Max Life from its inception days until 2018. All right, Rajesh, I need to ask you about the challenges that you faced initially as well, because, rebranding a particular brand is absolutely a big challenge as well. But eventually, when we talk about how you made this into India's fourth largest private life insurance, that's got to be some journey. How exactly did it happen and how did you do it? What is the strategy behind it?
I must say a lot was done through the years, but the biggest challenge that we faced as we started off was really around trust. How does a private life insurer, and particularly a rather new brand in India, neither of which were known to the Indian consumer at large, Max and New York Life, how do you establish that trust for a product that is supposed to pay off after you're not there? So to us, actually, that fight of establishing ourselves as a credible brand was the biggest challenge, and particularly in the face of Life Insurance Corporation, LIC, which had a government guarantee against their products. So lots of things that we did, the choice of products, the selection of teams that we built, more particularly the agents, and the training that we imparted, and the whole process of selling that we introduced, which was very customer backwards, need backwards rather than product forwards, were actually some of the cornerstones of establishing this trust. Other than that, there were many other things that we kind of kept doing from time to time. We were the first ones to introduce a cash bonus policy in the country. Before then, the only products that were available were to give you reversionary bonuses, as we called, where you don't actually get the money in hand. So that was, again, a new kind of product. We've introduced a product that actually was to age 100, a whole of life product. That, again, was new to the market. We had an illustration, a benefit illustration that actually gave you all your inputs and outputs about how your money would come in and how it would get paid off. And we also had certain other features like riders, where we were able to customize products specifically as against your picking up a particular table number, as it was called in the LIC days, and so on and so forth. So a whole lot of innovation along all dimensions of product, features, convenience, but most importantly, how we trained and sold, I think would be the hallmark of that change.
Thank you, Rajesh, for those brilliant insights. Of course, it must have been challenging to, start something, build on trust, and also acquire customers as well. But again, one of the most interesting and challenging parts of this particular industry is the marketing and communication. So let me go across to Anisha Motwani as well, who was the former Chief Marketing Officer at Axis Max Life. Anisha, as the former marketing head of Axis Max Life Insurance between 2007 and 2015, help us understand the branding and the marketing strategy that you followed, because we've seen in this industry in particular, a lot of messaging is around death, around sudden incidents, sudden catastrophes in one's life. So how did you go about it? How was your style of communication different?
It is all about shubh shubh bolo. Any evidence of negativity is something that really makes our consumers nervous. So we had to change that, free the category from the burden of responsibility, morbidity, and open it up to positivity and optimism. And seeing it like a business of life gave me that opportunity. Life is such a beautiful open canvas, right from birth to death, every single milestone, critical milestone of life, childbirth, child education, child marriage, retirement. You look at every single touch point of life, and insurance plays a role. That is what I think was the insight that I got in, because I came in as an outsider in an industry. I was in a completely different industry. And I said, most of the consumers are actually buying insurance as a piece of hope. And hope, even in death, it's a piece of hope that after my loved one is gone, I am hopeful that my life and my children's life will be retained the same way. So we shifted it from the business of death to the business of life. And when we saw the canvas like that, there were many, many things that changed. And I think one of the other things that became very useful in this entire thing was how customer centricity at the agent touch point when they were selling really helped, because our sales practices were all about need-based selling. The starting point was a key feature document where we understood what the customer's need was. I have never seen this in any industry. you sell a product, you don't sell to a need. This is what true brand building is all about. You understand customer needs and you try and fulfill that need and see how your product or category fits in. And we actually managed to intercept every single touch point of customer's need and did it beautifully. And that was very fresh in the category. It was extremely refreshing. Nobody had seen the category codes with such a sense of optimism, with such a sense of progressiveness, that we actually hit the ground running with that campaign.
All right, so we just heard Anisha there speak about marketing and communication, how important it is for an organization like yours. Now, Sumit, marketing, communication, relaying the message that, what you're trying to do is one aspect of it. The other aspect is to be very solid when it comes to your offerings as well. It's very important for you to stay ahead of the curve. How do you plan it? How do you strategize it? Just give us an idea about how you think from your end.
Very relevant, Ashish. I think to begin with, unlike other products or brands where the consumption is immediate, here the true test is when there is an exigency in the family, when the family really needs the company and the brand to be there. I think from that perspective, the communication and the marketing part keeps on evolving. Today, for example, the advent of technology, digitization, there is AI, you can have hyper-personalization. I think some of those tools are actually making the job far more challenging, but also in all candor, far more pointed in terms of a very sharp approach. Today, I can look at the needs of the customers with a needle. I can be able to satisfy the needs of the customer far more diligently. In terms of timing of the product, also the financial needs of the customer, I think hyper-personalization clearly helps. I can design the products accordingly. I can design the services accordingly. India is a vast market. The segment that we deal in is very different across the areas. On one hand, you have a rural set of customers. On the other hand, you have the private set of customers whose needs and requirements may be very different. I think just to be able to understand the needs of the customers, technology is today playing a large role.
Moving on, let me also speak to one other veteran of Axis Max Life Insurance, Mr. Alok Bhanu, was the Chief Marketing Officer of the company between 2019 and 2022. Alok, thanks a lot for joining us. Must have been challenging for you as the CMO, particularly during a tumultuous period of the COVID era. Just help me understand, how did you handle the marketing and the communication side of it, particularly at a time when customers, consumers were themselves so confused? Just help us understand your entire journey with Axis Max Life.
All our communication, all our marketing efforts were based on trying to address the fear and anxiety that our customers were feeling, including us. So yeah, that is where we launched a fair number of initiatives, which is trying to address this fear and financial protection, which is what we call as Bharosa ka number. India Protection Quotient is something that we launched, which was trying to put a number to a feeling. These were all feelings, and at least at Max Life, we've always believed that address our customers' feelings instead of just numbers. And so we created an index called India Protection Quotient, which would address how Indians in this uncertain times are trying to address some sort of certainty in their lives. And that's where the word Bharosa actually came in, and the team very, very beautifully enshrined the concept of Bharosa into our being at Max Life. And that Bharosa still continues as we speak, even 4 years, 5 years later. So yes, we launched India Ka Bharosa Ka Number, which was about how Max Life is meeting its promises. We decided that our communication will be in consumers' language, which is why we didn't call anything but Bharosa, which is Hindi, and most of our clients are obviously vernacular in the form of Hindi. So that became our communication. Keep it simple, talk the consumer language, and address their fears, and through being patient with our customers as well. And if you go to the spiritual world, there is something called faith and patience. These two things will take you through tough times. So we focused on faith, which is Bharosa, and kept the language simple.
All right, welcome back everyone. We continue our conversation here with the Axis Max Life Insurance leadership about the journey that the company's been on, the 25 years of leadership, and how even after 25 years they continue to be ahead of the curve. Joining me right now is Prashant Tripathi, ex-CEO at Axis Max Life between 2019 and 2025. Not very often do we see a big brand rebrand itself even after a long successful journey, and Prashant, during your tenure we saw that happen with Max Life, which rebranded itself to Axis Max Life. Just help me understand the story behind it.
It was very important to create the stability, and when Axis became the shareholder, that stability came in the eyes of the investors. But really creating or leveraging the Axis brand through our name was something that was playing in the minds of the entire management team. It was not an action triggered by the shareholders. The shareholders didn't come and tell us to rebrand ourselves. It was a completely management decision, and we went to the Axis Bank, we went to Max, and we decided to rename ourselves from Max Life Insurance to Axis Max Life Insurance. The purpose was very easy. Max Life was very strong in North and West, but not as strong in East and South. And the mirror image was with Axis Bank. They were really strong in East and South. So the objective was to create that strength. Also, we were strong in large cities, but the presence of Axis Bank through 5,000 of their branches is a much more visible brand compared to how Max Life was. So really bringing the strength of Max Life in form of being an expert on insurance and Axis Bank as a household brand coming together would have created a stronger franchise, and really given the much needed perception in the minds of the consumers that a very strong is backing up Max Life Insurance. I'm very happy that these assumptions actually played out in form of realities. Our consideration scores jumped, our strength in East and South jumped, our assumption on tier 2, tier 3 cities came alive, and at the same time, the growth, just not from Axis Bank, but overall, remained very, very competitive and ahead of the market.
All right, so with that, we just heard, about the rebranding as well. So when something like this happens with a legacy brand like yours, it can either be a marketing opportunity or an absolute nightmare. What was it like for you, and how did you go about, designing the entire campaign?
No, I think good question, Ashish. And we heard Prashant, what he had to say to contextualize brand refresh, as we call it. I think to start with and to recap, the entire brand refresh exercise was the biggest opportunity that we would have seen, because it came back from a very clear aspiration of the enterprise wanting to be the most admired life insurance business in India. And to do that, you need to be contextualizing the brand narrative in the times that you're in, one. Second, you need to ensure that the brand is able to give tailwinds to the larger growth narrative. We've heard a few of our leaders in the erstwhile conversations talk about that how we have played to the growth part of this category. We very clearly knew that the opportunity for us is to be able to take the entire brand franchise beyond the urban tier 1s, to be able to take it to tier 2, tier 3s, to be able to also go back and take advantage of the two brand assets that come from our shareholder side. We had the subject matter expertise in the life insurance space coming in from the Max Life part of the brand asset. Equally, we had the mass leader brand approach coming in from the Axis franchise. So when you try and bring in two subject matter experts together and to be able to go back and re-energize and fortify our consumer customer promise, because that again sits at the center of this conversation, unequivocally I can tell you that you pick up anybody in the entire ecosystem of the enterprise, they would have gone back and said brand refresh is equal to an opportunity. Obviously, to give you perspective, where we sit, we are not only a legacy brand, we are a top leaderboard brand. So to be able to go back and do this exercise with finesse and to be able to look at every part of the stakeholder in the value chain. And if you go outside in, you look at consumers, you look at customers, you look at our sellers or our advisors, you look at our distributors, and more importantly for a franchise like ours, you look at our employees. I think to be able to go back and make brand refresh an opportunity for everybody, I think could not have happened by just making it as an advertising activity. It had to be deep-rooted in propositions. It had to be deep-rooted in trying to answer for what's in it for every stakeholder. When we go back and say, that Max Life Insurance is now Axis Max Life Insurance.
Absolutely, and that's a refreshing take. And what's more important and more poignant for me here is the fact that you're not just at the top of your game, but you're also trying to keep the whole thing dynamic. Whether it's in terms of the offerings that you have, or in terms of the marketing messaging that you're putting out as well. It's been a wonderful conversation with you guys. And before we wrap this up, one question to both of you. We can go one by one. Sumit, starting with you. What's next?
Yeah, excitement is ahead. I can say there's a lot of excitement ahead as we look at the coming years. I also feel Ashish, one of my previous bosses, Prashant, you met him. And Prashant very rightfully used to say, if not us, who? If not now, then when? I think we are in that kind of a stage where the stage is set for us to really keep on excelling. What we've achieved in the last 25 years, the way things and the pace is moving, Ashish, we need to brace up. We need to tighten the seat belts, because what we've achieved in the last 25 years, we can actually achieve in the next 2.5 or 5 years. That's the way the pace is changing. India is very exciting. And I think you need to be thankful to be born in a country like India. And the more you travel outside, the more respect you feel at India as a market. So I can say what next is a lot of excitement. We look forward to it. Surely life will become more challenging with data, AI around, but we are all braced up.
Absolutely. And Rahul?
Yeah. So I think at a brand level, I think we've got the right runway built. But if I have to go back and maybe give you 3 nuggets of what's coming up ahead, and I'm taking a medium term to a long term play at it, I think one is to be able to ensure that Bharosa remains absolutely contextualized. The articulation of Bharosa may evolve with time, but the core principle of Bharosa, i.e. trust, which is a core part of this brand and this category, will always remain center stage. Second, I think it's time that we make life insurance, and thus Axis Max Life Insurance, cool. I think we need to be able to add a lot more badge value to it. I think the minute you start add these codes to the brand narrative, I think you're again playing to the upcoming narratives that are being played out for various parts of the culture that India is evolving to. And last but not the least, I think Axis Max Life Insurance will always be ahead of the curve when it comes to a leaderboard player, a top leaderboard player, and we would be there in terms of trying to foresee what kind of new trends are coming ahead. There are various parts of this brand narrative in terms of the work that we do on the consumer side to be able to pick up the right attitudes, nuggets, and build it back in our product propositions. And to close in, like Sumit mentioned, I think the power of being able to look every consumer with a needle and say, everyone is unique and we need to be able to relate to everybody.
Absolutely. It's been an absolute masterclass in strategy as well as marketing, speaking to you guys. And it's wonderful to know the sort of journey that Axis Max Life has had over the past 25 years. Everything you've done in the past that you're doing now, and you also plan for the future as well. And more than that, I think what's been much of a learning for me, not just as a journalist, also as a customer during this conversation, is that at the end of the day, you're trying to keep it authentic. And I think that explains a lot why you still are at the top of the game and are ahead of the curve as well. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Rahul and Sumit. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.